progressives marching side by side, shoulder to shoulder with Islamists. It's quite comical if it wasn't so awful, because the Islamists would basically, kill them, some of them, for what they stand for. Women's rights, gay rights. I mean, these things are inimical to Islamic society, but they are bound together by a common aim, even though the society they want to have they are polar opposites, but they're bound together by the common aim of destroying the West and hatred of Jews and Israel. And this is enough to keep them on the streets together. But I think, as you were suggesting, there's actually a much deeper set of connections. And one of the most important is this inversion of reality. The Islamic world, as I understand it, is dominated, unfortunately, at the moment by people who believe that Islam is perfection and the rest of the world is basically the work of the devil. And so anything that happens in the Islamic world is good, and anything that happens in the other world, in the non-Islamic world, is bad. And so if Muslims commit terrible crimes, human bomb attacks, in this framework of thinking, they are always acting in self-defense. They're always acting in defense of the world of Islam, because they are doing the work of God. And the people they have murdered are basically bad people, and they're only killed because they were attacking Islam. It's a complete inversion. When you come to the Palestinian cause, that's exactly what it is. They accuse Israel of doing precisely what they're doing, but of which Israel is innocent. So the Palestinian Arabs want the ethnic cleansing of every Jew from a future state of Palestine, and they accuse the Jews of ethnic cleansing, the Jews of Israel. I mean, it was the Arab world which really ethnically cleansed 850,000 Jews from the entire Arab world, a world in which they had lived since antiquity, after Israel was created, and they were expelled because they were Jews. So that was ethnic cleansing. So the Palestinian cause accuses Israel falsely. Now, the Western liberal falls for that for two reasons. First of all, it believes in the Palestinian cause because it believes that gives itself, as a progressive world, moral worth. But also because the progressive liberal mindset has also been to invert reality. It was decades ago that the West told itself, the Western intellectuals told themselves that objective truth was no more. There was no such thing as objective truth. Anyone who believes there is such a thing as absolute or objective truth is quite clearly, in this way of thinking, a complete intellectual cretin. Only, sophisticated people know that everything is a matter of opinion. Feelings trump facts. And if there are no such thing as truth, there is no such thing as a lie. And consequently, you cannot have a distinction between truth and lies. It's only a matter of opinion. So if I say that the Israelis are the victims of ethnic cleansing and or the attempted ethnic cleansing and attempted genocide, that's only my opinion, according to this mindset. So if you get rid of truth, you get rid of rationality, and you open the way to what we have developed, which is the belief that, as Oprah Winfrey said to Meghan Markle, your truth. You have your truth, I have my truth. Well, excuse me, I mean, what's she talking about? She's talking about opinions, and she's talking at the worst level about, lies being someone else's truth. It's a mind-frying kind of hijack of language that we're living through. But going on, what have we created in the West, in the progressive West, as a result of this business of, it's my truth, everything's a matter of opinion, my feelings trump facts. It's all to do with the individual. What the individual wants, what the individual says, what the individual feels is what is. And that has led to our victim culture, in which I feel oppressed by you, And because I feel oppressed by you, I am oppressed by you, even though I may have been absolutely dreadful to you and have caused you to lose your job and all your social circle and all your prospects. But nevertheless, I'm the victim of you. So it's that kind of inversion that you can do no right because you are an oppressor group. You are white, you are male, you are Christian, you are Western, whatever it is. You're an oppressor group, therefore you can do no right. And I am black, I come from a developing world country, I am not conventionally gendered or sexualized, whatever it is. I define myself as a minority victim group. I can therefore do no wrong because I'm a victim. I must be the victim of you, even though I have told lies about you, I have damaged you. This is irrelevant. Because I feel that I'm a victim, I am a victim. So you have a Western progressive mindset, which, because it's abolished truth and reason, and because it's embraced hyper-individualism and victim culture, has inverted reality. So you have an absolute match between the liberal progressive mindset, which inverts reality for its purposes, and the Islamic mindset, which inverts reality for its purposes. So you have a marriage made in hell.
Why would anybody think that the idea that queers should be for Palestine? We know it happens to homosexuals in that culture. Why do phase 3 feminists never appear to complain about the way in which women are treated, and in fact that law have less standing than men in the Islamic world? The left, in short, is profoundly hostile to Christianity, but unbelievably obliging to Islamic belief and practice, which often offends the very things that they say they believe in.
Yeah, and we could add another question. Why is Islam happy to be on their side as well? Because Islam is proactively anti-gay, not anti-women, but anti-feminism. But they're happy to reap the benefits of the contemporary political space where, and this is a much bigger conversation, and you've covered a lot of it in some of your other podcasts, but if you're in a context where the most oppressed person is the winner, or has the most moral value, or the most to be honoured, however you want to frame it, then that's all you end up with. You end up with, or in a world where everything's colony or anti-colonizing. So Christianity is bad because they're the colonizers. Israel is bad, they're the colonizers. Or whatever the actual reality is and the historical truths. It's driven by a really incoherent political philosophy that we're operating under, that the West is operating under. It makes no sense. It's completely incoherent to ally Islam with anti-colonialism or feminism, but it's just super shallow reading of it. But they are a minority, and they are making a claim that of Islamophobia, so they must be right. They must be the goodies in the battle. Yeah, it's
may I offer 3 suggestions for causes?
Yeah, offer a careful response, not a.
No, this is crazy.
Yeah, right.
One is resentment of Christianity. They share that. There's been a long battle against the Christian view of the person in the West, going back to Rousseau, so it's a long way back. The idea that human beings have inherent evil that they need to overcome, this is not something the left accepts, believes in the inherent goodness of people. And that's my second point is that it's a similar anthropology. Islam believes that people are basically okay, they just need a bit of guidance. And I think the left has a very similar view. Through education, through government, through control, we can create good societies because people are basically good. Then the fundamental problem is not the human being, it's unjust structures in society that can be addressed. But the Western Christian tradition is based on the idea that humans are fundamentally problematic. And that's why we have separation of powers, for example. It's to moderate the effects of human sin. The left in general doesn't like the separation of powers, and it kind of works away to break down the distinction between the law and politics And yeah, so there's a similar anthropology, but the biggest reason, I think, is that Islam is intensely attuned to victimhood. When Muhammad responded badly to rejection, he became the ultimate victim, and he justified the jihad in terms of Islamic victimhood. It's better to kill than to be persecuted. The Quran sort of says that and repeats it. So Islam is oriented to victimhood, and this is actually a big problem, ethical problem, I think, for many Muslims, that the Islamic world is obsessed with victimhood and is blaming someone. We blame the Jews, or we blame the West, or we blame somebody else for our issues. And there's an exaltation of victimhood, because at the heart of Islam, which includes the call to jihad and violence, is this idea that Muslims are victims. I saw that in a debate between Wafa Sultan, an Arab dissenter, and an Algerian professor, and she was saying, look, Muslims have hurt some people as victims of Muslim movements. And he began to scream at her, and he shouted and said, we are the victims. We are the victims. Your victims are in the hundreds, maybe thousands, but ours are in the millions. So this is a really strong kind of psychological frame that Islam inculcates in order to partly to justify the violence. And where every war then becomes a war of liberation of Islamic victimhood. And the West is attuned to that as well. The left is attuned to that as well. The left is all about the victimhood and rescuing victims and getting rid of oppressors. So there's this kind of recognition, a spark of similarity from completely different places, but there's an alignment over a shared anthropology, a dislike of the Christian tradition, and an orientation to victimhood that becomes inflammatory. And that's why we've seen that in the rise of anti-Semitism in Australia, this theme of victimhood, which then allies to a kind of hatred that's so destructive and corrosive.